धन्यवाद अध्यक्ष जी। अध्यक्ष जी, under the leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister, the country has witnessed an economic miracle in the last 7 years. From agriculture to education, aviation to railways, IT to BT, soil to space, in every segment of the country's national life, the Prime Minister has ushered in a complete transformation. The kind of economic progress the country has witnessed in the last 7 years, the pace of reforms is also unprecedented. The numbers are there to give more clarity on that. However, Speaker Sir, the political commentariat speaks very highly of the 1991 budget and describes it as the budget which opened the doors for India's economic growth. One must keep in mind that the 1991 budget and the reforms that were introduced therein were made at a time of economic compulsion. The reforms that were brought in then were not as a result of the government's conviction for economic reforms. The difference between then and all the 4 budgets that Honorable Finance Minister Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman ji has presented is that the economic reforms introduced in the last 4 budgets that she has presented is very dedicatedly, concertedly a result of the conviction of the government to introduce economic reforms. And it would not be an exaggeration when I say that when the history of modern India is written, India's history can be viewed as a before Modi era and a after Modi era. The numbers are so clear as to the kind of comprehensive transformation that the country has witnessed. When Honorable Member of Parliament from Wayanad was speaking about the idea of 2 Indias, perhaps this should have been the 2 Indias that he should have elaborated upon. That before Modi, there was a different kind of India, and after Narendra Modi, there is a different kind of India. And let me elaborate on what is the difference. Before Modi, the country was witnessing double-digit inflation. We were considered to be among the fragile 5 economies of the world. After Modi, the country has consistently seen single-digit inflation, and we are today the fastest growing major economy in the world. This is the 2 Indias that we must be seeing. Before Modi, India's GDP, the size of India's GDP was 110 lakh crore. After Narendra Modi, the size of India's GDP is 230 lakh crore. This is the 2 Indias that we must be proud. This is the 2 Indias that have changed. Before Narendra Modi, India's exports were at 2.85 lakh crore. After Narendra Modi, India's exports are now at 4.70 lakh crore. Nobody can deny these facts. India's foreign reserves before Modi ji was $275 billion. After Modi ji, India's foreign reserves is at $630 billion. In every aspect of macroeconomic measurement, whether it is foreign exchange reserves, whether it is FDI, whether it is inflation, India after Narendra Modi has consistently performed better than what it was under the rule of the dynasts of the Congress. This is something that is very clearly established. I am elected by the people of the country with as much right as a dynast sitting in this hall to speak on behalf of the people, and the numbers that I am quoting, sir, are sacrosanct. They come from the sources of government. Sir, before Narendra Modi, the poor of this country were left to fend for themselves. This was the reality that the poor of the country were facing. But after Narendra Modi, sir, we today have 44.8 crore people who came for the first time inside the formal banking system through the Jan Dhan accounts. For last 70 years, Can we imagine? We are speaking of inclusive development, sir. Last 70 years, close to 45 crore people were not even part of the country's formal banking system. And these people lecture today on Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas to us. The first time in the country's history, sir, 9 crore households have got tap water.
बैठ जाइए, आप अपना स्थान लीजिए.
आपके पास 70 साल थे, सर. 70 साल थे आपके पास. In 70 years, if the Prime Minister has to come in 2014 and deliver 9 crore households tap water for the first time, it reeks of the kind of corruption that was there, rampant corruption that was there during your regime. And this is the old India, the two Indias. This was the old India that was there, the India that you ruled. Sir, whether it is DBT, whether it is UPI, whether it is Jan Aushadhi Kendras, every single metrics of governance very clearly established that the Prime Minister has established in this country transparent systems, accountable governance, and clear and committed governance structures. This is the difference between pre-Modi days and after Modi days, sir. Sir, I come from Bengaluru, the startup capital of the country. Before Narendra Modi, sir, the country had only 500 registered startups. After Narendra Modi's governance, sir, the country today has more than 65,000 startups, of which 41 plus unicorns became unicorns during the pandemic. This shows the kind of resilience, the talent, the capability that Prime Minister Narendra Modi's governance has unleashed in the country. This is the two India, sir. The India before Narendra Modi has stifled entrepreneurship. The India before Narendra Modi ji had curbed the entrepreneurial spirit of India. It has shackled economic freedoms of the people. The India after Narendra Modi ji has unleashed the talent of our people, the talent of our young people, and India today is an economy on the rise, sir. This is something that needs to be established time and again. Sir, the last 2 days in the course of the debate, the members from the opposition have been relentlessly making baseless and, dare I say, logic-less arguments criticizing the government that there is an increase in unemployment. I want to ask them, sir. फारूक अब्दुल्ला जी बात कर रहे थे, sir. बहुत सारे युवा लोग बेकार पड़ गए हैं. This was the word that he used. Sir, I want to ask, if the economy, if the size of the GDP can be increased multiple times, if foreign direct investment has increased multiple times, if the size of the investment that the country has got has increased times, if the size of the economy, if the number of unicorns have increased multiple times, how can there be no employment generation? Sir, the Congress party,
take your seat.
The Congress party and its dynasty leaders are confusing their political unemployment as the unemployment of the country. Those who are hardworking, talented, meritorious young people coming from the modest of backgrounds, they have enough number of opportunities. If there is one young person who is unemployed in the country, sir, it is the prince of the Congress party, the dynasty of the Congress party, sir. Let them not confuse their political unemployment for the employment of the masses today.
Sir, आप अपना स्थान लीजिए. Sir, you address to chair. You address to chair.
Sir, there are two. I want to. Sir, it is very clear why.
बैठ जाइए.
Why this stings them? It is very clear.
आप बैठ जाइए, अपना स्थान लीजिए.
It is very clear why this stings the Congress party, sir. Sir, I just want to, sir.
Just a minute. कौन सा रूल है? आप बैठ जाइए.
I request you not to consider this as my time, sir.
एक second.
Sir, 353. No allegation of a defamatory or incriminatory nature shall be made by a member against any person unless the member has given a sufficient notice.
ठीक है तो.
Let me just complete, sir.
So you can continue.
Sir, Farooq.
हाँ, आप बैठ जाइए. चलो, you continue.
Sir, I wish.
आप बोलिए.
Sir, I would have given. Sir, what can you do How can you address a member who is perpetually absent from the house, sir? A member who spends more amount of time in foreign vacations than spending in the house, sir? What can I do other than speak when I get a chance, sir? Sir, while I am on this point, it is very important to ask as to why the Congress party in the last 70 years had specifically kept the country's economy under shackles. Though we got independence in 1947, sir, the country got economic independence for the first time only in 2014. Until 2014 and until the Prime Minister Narendra Modi came to office, the country's economy was shackled. The license quota permit Raj that the British had established, the British had introduced, that was continued for a period of almost 70 years until the Prime Minister came. And what was the I will come there, sir. I will come there. Please have the patience. I still have 10 more minutes. You should have the gumption to listen to everything that I'm saying. Sir, it was deliberately done. It was deliberately done, sir, as a matter of design to keep this country poor. And I will say why. So if you look at this country's political map, I know why Farooqji was so upset. From Kashmir to Kanyakumari, before the advent of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the country's political map, the country's states was majorly controlled by a few political families and dynasty-based political parties. Sir, आप देखिए भारत के मैप, कश्मीर से लेकर कन्याकुमारी तक जो पार्टियां परिवारवादी पार्टियां थी, वही पार्टियां समाजवादी पार्टियां भी थी. सो समाजवादी परिवारवादी थी, परिवारवादी समाजवादी थी, इसलिए क्योंकि सर, if you create an open economy, more and more self-made capable leaders, self-made more and more entrepreneurs, millionaires, wealth generation will take place. The reason why the dynasty polities preferred socialism and kept a closed economy was because they did not want challengers to come and challenge their thrones, challenge their fiefdoms. What Prime Minister Narendra Modi has done, sir, today is to democratize not only India's polity, but also democratize India's economy. And therefore, we are finding today, sir, first generation self-made millionaires and billionaires who are being governed in this, who are being raised in this. Sir, before the Prime Minister, we had not heard of self-made millionaires, startup millionaires. I come from a city of Bengaluru, sir. Today, if any young man goes online, the kind of shows that the YouTube content that our young people are watching is, they're watching interviews of Kunal Shah from Cred, Vijay Shekhar Sharma from PTM, Goyal from Zomato, Bhavish Agarwal from YOYO. Sir, from Ola, sir, please give me 5 minutes, sir. Sir,
you address to chair.
So, sir,
and Tejasvi ji 2 minute में conclude.
Sir, please 5 minute दीजिए, sir, मुझे. Sir, बहुत सारे विषय बाकी है, sir. Sir, all these names that I mentioned are self-made first generation leaders. Why did, before 2014, these kind of leaders, these kind of business leaders, entrepreneurs, why could the country not create? Because the dynasty-based political parties did not want to create such kind of economic leaders in the country, sir. This is something that must be established. Sir, there are only 2 other points I would want to make, sir. Why I consider this budget is a budget for jobs and a budget for India's youth. And I speak as a young member of parliament, sir, and I want to thank the finance minister for giving the most futuristic and the most tech-savvy budget ever in the country's history in the budget 2022. Sir, this budget speaks of a rollout of 5G technology. This budget speaks of a task force for EVGC. It speaks of artificial intelligence, machine learning-based learnings, big data. It speaks about an EV policy. This budget speaks about battery swapping policy, virtual labs, 75 digital banks, digital university, introduction of blockchain-based central bank digital currency. This, sir, is going to be a game changer in India's economic journey. anytime, anywhere, post offices, digital ecosystem for skilling and livelihood, drone as a service, Kisan drones, Drone Shakti, a boost to quantum computing, 50,000 crores to National Research Foundation. It speaks of clean tech, green jobs, solar panel manufacturing. So it also speaks of creating jurisdictions where foreign universities can come and invest, and those jurisdictions where no domestic laws will apply. Every year, sir, billions of dollars Indian students and parents spend to go outside of the country to seek this education. This one change is going to save huge amount of revenue for the country, and also is going to create competition in the India's economic education space. Which is why, sir, I said from education to technology, aviation to space, soil to infrastructure, this government has transformed the country in every way.
Thank you very much.
Sir, please, sir, I just want to highlight one important point, sir. Sir, I come from an urban city, sir. My father came from a small village in Chikmagaluru about 50 years ago, and he migrated to Bengaluru, sir. When he came in his late teens, he did not even have Hawaii chappals to go inside and attend classes. But because he came, our entire family is today financially secure. And in just one generation, sir, the people of Bengaluru blessed me to be their member of parliament. Why I am saying this, sir, is because consistently the last 70 years, our policymakers had neglected urbanization. And you cannot have, and this was done deliberately, sir. It was
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sir,
Thank you.
sir, आखिरी point पे आ रहा हूँ, sir. This is going to establish the design of these people, sir. Sir, that deliberately neglected urbanization, sir, and this was also by a form of design.
Thank you very much.
Sir, today the Prime Minister in the budget has promised new urban planning. He has promised urban infrastructure, creation of metros, creation of this thing. And on behalf of all the millions of people who live in urban areas, sir, I thank the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister for this very concerted effort.
Thank you, Tejasvi Surya ji.
On the last
Thank you
point,
very much.
sir, this is, sir, मैं 30 सेकंड में इसको खत्म करता हूं, sir. I want to just trace back the history as to where this whole obsession with socialism started, sir. Sir, in 1955, in Chennai, the Congress party had organized their 70th national conference. It was at a place called Avadi. In that Avadi conference, sir, Jawaharlal Nehru ji, who was then the Prime Minister, he invited the President of Yugoslavia to come and attend the Avadi National Conference as a special guest. And there, the Congress party passed a resolution to establish in India a system of socialist-based society. And the obsession with socialism, sir, was so high that Comrade Nehru, sir, in 1956, the year next, invited the Prime Minister and President from Russia to again come to India, sir. And that time, Nikita Khrushchev and Nikolai Bulganin, they came to India and planned India's economy. Sir, 1 minute, sir. Sir, please. I'll conclude. So this is a very important point. Sir, young of India must know what they have done, sir. So for 40, 50 continuous years, this mindless obsession with socialism kept India deliberately poor. So, and this whole command control ecosystem, this planned economies. Sir, we had other Asian economies, Singapore, Taiwan, which raced ahead.
Sir, M. Selvaraj ji.
Sir, thank you, sir. 2000.
एक सेंटेंस में खत्म कर दी करो एक
Sir,
सेंटेंस
I will conclude in 1 more minute, sir.
नहीं no minute
Sir.
conclude
Sir, 1 minute may I'll conclude, sir. Sir, the young of India, the present generation of India must know what was the price this country paid for this mindless obsession with socialism that the Congress party imposed on this country for more than 70 years. Sir, Swaminathan Anklesari Iyer, a very senior economist, in a paper titled "Socialism Kills: The Human Cost of Delayed Economic Reform in India," sir, has to say this, and
Thank
with
you.
this I will conclude.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
He says,
Surya
sir,
ji.
the study finds that had the economic reforms taken place a decade earlier, 14.5 million more children would have survived. I will repeat this. The study finds that had the economic reforms taken place a decade earlier, 14.5 million more children would have survived. 261 million more Indians would have become literate. 109 million more Indians would have risen above the poverty line. The delay in economic reform represents an enormous social tragedy for India. It drives home the point that India's socialist era, which claimed it would deliver growth with social justice, delivered neither growth nor social justice.
Now,
Sir, I will only say this. It is for the first time under the Prime Minister Narendra Modi that this country has gotten unshackled, this country is on the rise, and this country has finally got out of this pernicious trap of perverted socialism. And that is a new India. And